Welcome to Fitness and Finance. I am your co-host, Tony Shore, and I'm here with our hosts, the great Jeffrey Smith and Jennifer Scherer are here. Jeff and Jen,
Guys,
this is going to be a huge show.
big show.
I don't know how you guys do it. What a huge get for today's show. You got an A-lister guest.
Yes.
Jennifer, first of all, how are you doing? Are you doing okay today?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm excited.
Excellent. You guys are so busy.
I know.
You guys have a lot going on. Jeff, are you keeping busy?
Yes, barely hanging on, Tony, but
Barely hanging on. I don't buy that. You even found a shirt with sleeves to wear today.
I did.
Do you have a formal event?
Well, we had a
today,
guest.
or why so dressed up?
We have a guest on today, so I thought Jen said, "Don't embarrass me," so I'll put sleeves on.
No, that's
trying to keep it professional.
No, that's when you impress, is without the sleeves.
It is a workout shirt. It's a shirt that says 45 plus 45 equals 135.
You do the math.
Yes. So for all of us people who work out with barbells, we'll get that.
Because you got to add in the weight of the bar itself. Is that why? Because I was thinking 90 and thinking you might have failed math, but then
well, those things are not mutually exclusive. Those are
okay. All right. So Jennifer, he's been waiting so patiently, and we don't want to bring him down to our level of joking around as we usually do at the top of the show. But Jennifer, a huge get, and who is your special guest today?
So John Maloney, he is owner of Called by Design, and I'll let John tell more about his organization. But we thought that it would be a great opportunity to bring in a guest and talk about the importance of learning your strengths. Every person has a unique set of strengths. And when we met with John, what really, I think, intrigued me was the ability to learn each one of my staff's strengths and how that can apply to the team building. And that's what John has been doing with us for a couple of years now. Every quarter, he comes in and we do a workshop. All the staff are required to participate. And honestly, it brings everybody together. But for me as an owner and for my vice president, Jesse, it really does help us, identify where these people are going to excel and put them in positions of success. And if they're having issues, I always go back to that report. And John, I would love for you to share more about the Gallup report that you've worked on with us.
Wow. Well, John, first of all, welcome to the show. I have a quick question, though, before we get in. Called by Design. I love that name. Tell us about the name and what your company does a little more.
Okay. Well, can I just tell a little more of my background, and that would help with how I got to Called by Design?
Sure.
Retired Coast Guard, 24 years.
Wow.
FBI for about 4.5 years after that. And then I was the administrator for two very large law firms. One of them where I became the director of organizational development. I'm quite a late bloomer. In fact, my high school guidance counselor said, "I don't think you're college material." And at that time, she was right. So where all this success came from, I don't know. But I decided when I turned 60, which was 8.5 years ago, that I was tired of doing budgets and, corporate work and all those things. And I started this business. And because I have a military retirement, it allowed me to, start this without worrying about whether I was going to continue eating or not. And I couldn't figure out the name for a long time. I thought about the first initials of my children and now grandchildren, and it just became too many alphabet things. So I'm a person of faith, and as I started thinking about what is my purpose, what am I going to do with what's left of my life, I decided that I wanted to do something that helped people figure out how they're naturally designed, and then put that to use, because that's where we'll do our best work, is when we're doing what we're supposed to do or what we do well. And I figured out that CliftonStrengths, when I was getting my master's degree, I chose that as my baseline discussion content for any level, whether it's an executive or whether it's a person entering the workforce. I use that as a starter conversation. And what happens is people go, "Oh, that's really interesting." But they already know it. That's what makes my job easy, that, we don't tell them anything that they don't know. So I get the pleasure every day of coaching people about what they already know. And I just ask questions about it. And then we try to figure out, how do you purpose that? How do you use that in a way that changes your world, the people around you, and all of those things? So that's how I came up with the name Called by Design. I'm called to do this, I think, and it's not work for me. You can ask Jennifer and Jeff. When I go to a workshop, I'm on fire. I love it. And but fortunately, Jennifer is an amazing person to hire people, because she has a great staff, one of the best I've ever worked with. So I'm very humbled to get to work with them, because they're all bought in, and you don't get that a lot with organizations. So I'm thankful for that. And that's how we ended up being friends. And I was originally a client for them. I was working out next to Jeff there. I was very humbled by that, because he wasn't wearing sleeves. But
well done.
Am I allowed to do that this early on?
Oh yeah.
But I'm grateful that I get to do what I do, and that's about my company. I hope I filled the gaps for you there. Any questions?
No, that's great.
No, you answered my question. I think that's great. I'm really impressed. There was a time period in my life, briefly, born and raised on a very landlocked area of the country, Minnesota, on a farm. But there was a period where I really thought Coast Guard. I don't know why. I just loved going to the coast. Made a few trips with the family to California and also to the East Coast. And I thought, I want to be part of the Coast Guard. I admire that. I admire people, and that probably helped you with your skills that enabled you to go and, do all the things you've done. So, Jennifer, I know you have worked directly with John a lot, both you and Jeff. So what are some of the questions you guys have for him? I didn't mean to hijack the conversation. No. I just wanted to get into the basics for our listeners first, so they know where he's coming from.
I think, our audience is big on fitness and finance. So John, I would ask you, let's connect the dots. How do strengths come into play in those areas, would you say?
Well, first of all, when I coach folks on their CliftonStrengths, I use a lot of sports analogies for that, mostly basketball and Michael Jordan. And he had an initial, ability to play the game of basketball. And then he got a coach and started adding knowledge and skills to something that he already did well. And then he took that to this unbelievable, what we call near perfect performance. And when his team was down, they gave him the ball. And so connecting the dots with fitness, when Jennifer is working with someone like me that is not naturally, fit, I have to work at it very hard. She can help me to see what are the things that I can do well. And then when she figures that out, and we had some coaches there at Fredericksburg Fitness that they record everything as far as how we're doing, not on video, but on a piece of paper. And so each coach knows what we did last time or the time before that. And so they begin to develop you in ways where you have success. And when you have success in physical fitness, then it leads to, I think I'm going to try this too. And that's the way it works for me. And I think for many of your clients. So it's the same for CliftonStrengths. And if I could, I'd like to share my top 5 strengths with you now, so you get the idea about that. And they are communication. Imagine that, me talking, all the time. Significance, which says, I really want to make a difference for other people. Woo, which stands for winning others over. So I can do that fairly well, I think. And then restorative, which means I like to fix things. And that usually plays out in 2 different ways. One way is fixing processes or things. That's really not my thing. I like fixing relationships because I have some things in the relationship realm. And then developer is my 5th strength. Interestingly enough, all 3 of us here today all have developer in our top 5.
Yeah.
So, making that leap as I began to work more with Jen and Jeff and their teams, imagine all of us working toward that same end, that we're developing their teams in a way that we do it naturally. We recognize the small steps that people make and have success in, and then we capitalize on that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of words. I always do this when I'm explaining this because I get really excited. And I always say at the beginning of my talks, I have so much I want to tell you. So, but let me just say this about strengths. It's the only one that changed my life. And when I found out I had significance as number 2, I had been successful previous to understanding my strengths as commanding officer, 2 Coast Guard cutters, had a successful career in the Coast Guard, but I didn't know why. I always just thought it's because I was willing to work hard, and that's true. But when I found out I had significance, I realized that it was because I wanted to make a difference wherever I am. And when I find out that I'm not making a difference, I will work harder. And that's why I say CliftonStrengths is not just a personality test. It's a performance assessment. So if you could put these things to work, your performance will get better. And it's the same thing with working out. Also with your financial side, we always tell young people, even if you just put $50 a month away, you're showing those little bits of success. And then they look at their account and they go, wow, I have $1,000 already. What does that do? It motivates them to say, maybe I can squeeze out 75, that kind of thing. So it's just a matter of, success breeds success, and it starts small. But first you have to understand what it is you're going to do and have a plan and how you're going to go about that. And when I coach people on their strengths, there's a plan. We go through each strength and I have them practice it. And then we have workshops with the entire team. So individually, that's how it works.
Yeah.
And I'll stop talking now and let you all respond to that. Go ahead.
Building habits, like you said, are important. And if you know what you're good at, or you're aware of what you're, like your top 5, I mean, you can really hone in on who you are and work into that. I think when it's not one of your strengths, when you feel down, exhausted, tired, energy is low, you can tell that is not a strength, right? But if you feel energized, you feel empowered, you feel strong. And I think, John touched on something, everybody needs purpose. And I think that significance probably is a good underlying thing for most people, maybe not in their top 5, but I mean, I think everybody deep down inside wants to impact something, right? Maybe it's people around them, their children, maybe on a micro level, just, the people that they go to work with every day. Right. So, but I mean, I think the military and any military service, I think recognizing that you're fighting for the person next to you, as much as you are the country and all that stuff, you're really fighting for people around you. You have significance in that person's life. I think it allows you to understand that on a deeper level. But just from, a financial and fitness standpoint, boy, sorry. Did I step on something? Did I step on a cat?
I think that was Avina.
That was Avina.
Yeah.
Or dog sitting.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm like, wow, our listeners and viewers are really going to wonder what's going on over there.
Yeah, because they can't hear.
Is Jeff torturing some small animal underneath the desk as he, Avina is a dog.
Yeah, yes. A dog.
Good, yes. Good. We need a show mascot. I think you should let Avina come on the show. That would be good. John's a great special guest, but imagine if we added Avina to the mix.
Yeah, I mean,
but no, you talked about significance.
Yeah.
And I think that's significance is a strength in that it's people who have significance. They want to make a big impact on others, and they realize that as an individual, they feel they can still, even though you're an individual, you can make a big impact on an organization or a team or on others, right?
Well, I think, exactly. What I was building to before I heard Vina whining was that, having a purpose every day, having purpose behind, we always talk about it in a financial standpoint. When we look at somebody's portfolio, we go, what is the purpose of this? I mean, you need to have purposeful money. You have to have purpose behind your investment strategy, right? Why are we buying these stocks? Why is it there? That doesn't make sense to me if it's kind of a muddled mess, right? So, having purpose behind anything that you do, whether it is to wake up and do 100 push-ups or, eat right for the day, purpose is what drives all of it, right? I think. And it's important to focus in on that. And I love John's input on the on all the strengths. I'd love to hear Jen's top 5 again.
Yeah. But
do you have my top 5, John?
I do.
But first, let's explain to the listeners, because you said it fast, I was trying to catch it. You're talking about CliftonStrengths, which
That's
is
correct.
It's a type of strength assessment. You can take it. Gallup, I believe, puts it out, right?
Correct.
And you've worked with Gallup. But you like these CliftonStrengths, and it enables you in your coaching that you do, John. Just to let our listeners know, and you can go look up what the CliftonStrengths are and figure out which yours are. It's like kind of like doing a personality test, but it's a lot more than that, right?
Yeah.
So
especially if you get a coach that helps you to, because what happens is people take it and they go, that's really cool. And then they go back to work. They're busy people. And if you don't have a coach, just like fitness, if you don't have somebody holding you accountable and saying, how are you practicing that today? It goes on the shelf. And 6 months later, this organization spent a lot of money to do this. And everybody's going, yeah, I think I took that thing one time, And by the way, there are other assessments that are real and that are good and scientifically, proven. I chose this one because it impacted me personally. So, and I went and became certified by Gallup to coach CliftonStrengths. So that's endears it to me as well. So
and John does such a great job with it too.
Yes.
Like he is obviously passionate about it. So when you get the coaching, it is enlightening. You really have some light bulbs go off. And if they're they're pretty, they're really on, but you have to kind of explore a little bit, the meaning behind each one of those strengths, because some of them are deadly accurate and some of them are like John said, part of that one of his strengths, there's part of it like the fixing processes versus fixing relationships. Like John focuses on the relationships, not the processes, right? So knowing and having a coach to guide you through what it really means to you in pulling that out of you is so valuable. So
but before I interrupted, I didn't mean to. You were going to talk about Jennifer's strengths, and I'm curious if any of them involve kale, John, because she always talks about that and how important it is, or Pilates. No. So what about Jennifer's strengths?
Yeah. So her number one strength is learner. And I can give you like a little sentence with each one. Learners often tell me if I could go to school for the rest of my life, I'd be happy with that. or they would like to spend more time in a library or reading, that kind of thing. Really dangerous for a learner are those little links that are in paragraphs when you're looking at something online and you click on the next one, you click on the next one. Next thing you know, you're 5 deep and you're not looking at anything that you started out looking.
I'll just say this. We had a conversation in the middle of the night.
Okay.
Right? We had a conversation in the middle of the night. And because sometimes we wake up and we have stuff on our mind, so we figure out, we talk about it. Sorry, this is maybe TMI, but she starts saying that there's some concerns, right? So then I'm like, so I start talking about it and I realize, oh my gosh, I just opened up a whole nother spreadsheet, a whole new spreadsheet for her. And I was like, my morning, there is going to be new cells and there's going to be new formulas. There's going to be, and I mean, when you talk about learner, my goodness, she needs to get her teeth into it. And I love that about her.
Yeah, I definitely have a desire for continuous improvement, for sure. I'm always looking to learn.
So cool.
But Jeff, as a coach, here's the beauty of what you just said, is not only is that the case, but now you know why. And when you know why, I like to say there's a lot more grace for each other, and I was telling, I don't know if it was you, Jen, but I was telling, my wife's number one strength is context. It's number 33 or so for me. I don't care about context. I don't care about history. I just want to do things, but my wife won't do anything, buy anything, go anywhere without looking it up first, understanding it. And I didn't know that for about 40 years of our marriage. And
Whoops.
And I knew she did it, but I didn't know why.
Whoops.
Whoopsie.
So
That's a rough 40 years, a long time.
God
Sometimes
bless her.
us guys are a little thick in that area, right? Yeah, it takes us time.
But anyways, the idea, and it works on a team as well, for when you're trying to understand, why does George do this and Sue not, that kind of thing. Your number 2, Jennifer, is achiever. And achievers not only make lists, but they get this sense of energy or satisfaction when they get to cross it off of the list. That's what achiever looks like most of the time. Is that true for you, Jennifer?
Oh my gosh. I think for achiever, as it applies, I need to be busy. And I think I've talked about this on the show before, Tony, where I just have to have like a certain intensity about what I'm doing. And so one of the things the basements that John Maloney talks about is like the ceilings and the basements of your strengths. Is the basement for me is I need to find that time out and find that pause button, because I can just go and push. And eventually it's like, I need somebody to help me press the pause button here.
Push the pause button.
Yeah.
And both of us, our contexts are 34.
Yeah.
So just like you, John, was our last strength. And so we just we don't have anybody to stop us from doing stuff,
Yeah, but for Jeff, I hope you don't mind me doing this.
Tried.
We didn't plan this, but
No,
Jeff has ideation as number 3. So while Jennifer's crossing it off, Jeff is going, well, wait a minute. I have some more ideas about that.
Let's add to the list before anything's ever crossed up. Jeff's list is like a scroll in a cartoon when they unroll it, and it unfurls. Yeah. And there's little check boxes, no checks in the boxes, but just the scroll is endless.
It's true. Oh my gosh.
So this isn't true about Jeff, because I know him, but a lot of ideation people, they think up all these ideas, but have no idea how to implement them. Where an achiever like Jen says, oh, that's a great idea. Now let's do it. Let's check it off.
That's why they're perfect for each other.
They are.
It does happen.
That's
why. Yeah. I'm being serious. They are.
Oh, that's
Jeff
sweet.
has needed a Jennifer in his life for so long. It got to the point where, John, I had almost given up. But then I'd almost given up on Jeff, and then Jennifer came along, and I'm like, there's hope. It's the puzzle piece that brought Jeff into his element.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sure.
Do you know the coolest thing is Jeff's number 1 strength, John, is
positivity.
Yeah.
There you go.
Makes sense.
Which a lot of people think it's Pollyanna, kind of thing, where the glass is always half full. But it may not be that, based on the other strengths that you have. It may be that you're the person who is in the room and says, something out here is not going on right. And you may be the person say, okay, we're not working together on this, but what can we work together on?
Right.
What can we come together on? So they might be the voice of reason in a positive sort of way. It's not, everybody holding hands and singing Kumbaya and everything's fine. That's not the real world, So yeah. Responsibilities number 3 for you, Jen. You want to comment on that, or you want me to say something about it? Or
I would think the way it applies for me is I want to do things right.
She always does.
Yeah, I want to be a woman of my word. I think trust is very important to me.
Yeah.
And honesty, like transparency, just being able to really communicate in a way that's on a deep level. I feel like that's part of how that comes. And then making sure, I think one of the things, if I would say that I need statements, and of course I'm bringing this in from what you've taught us, John, but responsibility, I would say I need tasks to do with like clear expectations. Like I want to know what is required of me. Like before I go into, a new certification or to get my master's or become a dietitian, I have the whole roadmap spelled out. And I will stick to that, because that's my responsibility to follow through on that. So that's probably tying in the achiever thing too. But yeah, definitely that's how it would apply to me.
Yeah. And responsibility is a dangerous strength because some people may take on things before they know the scope of what they're going to do, and they go, "Oh my goodness, what have I done?" And so it, sounds like that because you have some other strengths that keep, like learner, like I'm not only going to take responsibility for it, but I'm going to find out about it before I do it, perhaps, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll just say that, we've talked about this in the past, but both of us have dealt with narcissism. And this is actually a funny story because, as we've gone through that processing, I wanted nothing to do with it. I didn't want to learn about, I just wanted to get away from it, Jennifer knew every single terminology. She knew like the ins and outs.
Yeah, I read multiple books.
Like she literally educated herself on something that I wanted to run 1,000 miles away from. And it's just incredible. So but it with some humility, I've come to her and listened to why I felt a certain way in a certain situation, because she already knew. She educated herself. I mean, it's an incredible,
and that's the bottom line of what we're talking about, is knowing how powerful is knowing your strengths and what they are and what that means. And John, that's what you help people realize. I think that's great. So now, where are we at with Jennifer? We've talked about her top 3 strengths.
Yeah, we got 2 more if you want to do them.
Yeah, let's go. I mean, we already mentioned Jeff's one, so let's finish out Jennifer's.
So the next one is Relator. And interestingly enough, Jennifer's team, this is the number 1 strength amongst all of her team members as well. So
what's
more
that?
People.
Relator.
What does that mean? You relate well to others or with others?
Well, not really.
Okay.
Yeah. So Relator it's easy to explain it if you contrast it with another strength. And the other strength is winning others over, which I have as number 3. Mm-hmm. So a room full of 100 people or a room full of people, I'm on fire. I love it. I just want to meet everybody and I want to connect people and, all of those things. Where a Relator says, I'm going in this room full of 100 people. Where are the 10 people that I know and trust? And I'm going to go sit with them.
Ah, okay.
So this works well on a team when you have a lot of relators, because it builds tremendous trust amongst the team members. And Jen, I'll let you expand on that, or Jeff, you too, because you work with those team members as well.
Yeah, I can say that in our business, that is top priority, is to make the connection to the client and to find something in common. So I always really bridge that conversation early on. In the relationship, where I find something that kind of excites them, and then we can relate on it. Even if I have no experience with whatever it is, I can at least express interest and learn more about it and let them, get excited about whatever it is they're talking about. But I think the fact that our staff all have that is because they're all passionate about what they do. I think they all have that, that team-minded, they're mutually benefiting one another when they're talking about fitness and how can they expand on this workout and how can this be different.
Yeah. And you're a private studio, so I mean you have an audience of 1 or 2 in that room at all time. You better be good at interacting on that level. I'm not saying like that came out wrong, but every single person on that team is able to hold an amazing conversation and connect with whoever they're in the room with. But it is highly personal, right? So there is such a trust factor in there, because I think relators need to feel trusted and trust with the other person in order to have that connection continue back and forth, right? So I think everybody on the team, on your team, is incredible at that.
Really great.
It's a people-oriented business for sure. There needs to be that level of trust immediately. And I think that's an easy one to build, is finding someone is really passionate about and start asking questions and showing interest. And then that automatically, there's a rapport there, a level of trust.
Well, a real life story about that. When I first walked into Fredericksburg Fitness, everybody that works there is physically fit. I mean, that's what they live for, that's what they do. And then in comes this portly guy, old coastie, saying, I want to sign up. And I'm going, I'm tremendously self-conscious about having this personal trainer tell me what to do and feeling, kind of incapable of doing some of the things they ask you to do. But they did a great job of making this old man feel comfortable. And now my wife is working out there, and she absolutely loves going there. Not so much because of the exercise, because it hurts, but the relationship she's formed with the coaches there has just, it brings you back. And so I just want to commend you guys for how you run your business. And this is really interesting, because you can read all the leadership books in the world, but unless you internalize it and say, how am I going to produce that leadership in my own life, in my own work, in my own family, it's not real. John Maxwell's written, I don't know how many books. He's a leadership guru that writes a lot of books. And he has this one book called The 21 Laws of Leadership. I can't remember my name. How am I going to remember 21 laws? But I can remember one of them. And then I can go, with my strengths, how do I play that law out? Because if we try to be somebody else, they will know in a minute that it's not authentic, that you're ingenuous, and I'm not going to trust you. But if you lead with who you are, and that's what strengths does, it gives you the ability to go. I'll just give you an example. I was coaching an attorney one time, and he was like analytical, intellection, context. He was smarter than anybody I think I've ever met, but he was given 7 people to lead, and he didn't know how to do it. And he said, John, I'm just not going to be that person that runs out and shakes everybody's hand and says hoorah and all that stuff. And I said, that's fine, but tell them who you are so that they know that. And so he went out and did that. That was all he did, is he began to articulate his strengths to them and saying, hey, I just want you to know I have your back for promotional reasons and all that, but I'm not good at that, touchy-feely, nice guy stuff. And this is what he told me at the end. He said, first of all, John, you gave me the confidence to know that I could lead. And my response to that was, I didn't do anything. We just told you who you are. That's it. It's easy. You made my job easy. And then the second thing he said was a lot easier than I thought. Man, that's progress, So when I see Jen and Jeff's team out there doing what they do, and there's a lot of people who are hurting that come into their business, not only physically, but also emotionally, and her coaches are dealing with all that stuff, and they do a tremendous job. So, and I think some of it is because we've taken the time to find out who they are.
I agree. I think it helps the staff move past the surface level.
Yeah.
And I think as an owner, I want to know what drives them. Like, I want to know what excites them about teaching, what challenges them, what are their goals outside of the studio. I think that, connection is what builds the trust with the staff. And when trust is high, the communication just flows because it's like they all feel safe to bring ideas to me, to ask me for help, to celebrate their success.
Yeah.
And then Jen Sawyer with, being a director of staff development, I identified that role after we found out her strengths. And that was huge because now instead of taking a one size fits all, she knows each person's strength. And with that, one person might be great at motivating a big group of people where another person might not, and they need to focus more on intimate, one-on-one interactions, but we at least know that so we can, be more impactful. For our clients.
Yeah. And people don't know how to articulate that if they don't know it. Right. So, you may kind of internalize or have fears around certain circumstances, but you don't know why until you uncover why that is the strengths or strengths for a reason, but for every strength that you have, you may have an inverse, relationship to something else that, is obvious. But,
and I think too, one more thing I'll say on Relator is I think in 17 years, John, this is a testament to what the work you've done. We've had the highest staff retention since you've started doing this work. And I think that longer term loyalty, I think they're seen not just as employees. I think they're partners, right? They're partners in creating the supportive, empowering environment at Fredericksburg Fitness. And because of those deeper bonds, they're more engaged. They're more collaborative,
satisfied, and
they're more satisfied. They're more committed to the mission of Fredericksburg Fitness. They feel bought in. And that's really the bottom line, is like they're creating that family-like atmosphere that I've strived so hard to build.
Mm-hmm.
And I trust that they're on fire for what they do. And it's amazing to see. I'm not even there at Cowan now that we have the second location, but I know that everybody's doing what they need to do and they're all passionate about what they're doing. I don't have to work.
Yeah.
And that's peace of mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's number 5.
Well,
all of us have that one. All 3 of us. Developer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Which makes good sense for what both of you do, developing people financially, developing people in fitness. For me, it's developing people in awareness of themselves and how they put that to work. I always tell everybody when I coach them, don't tell the definition of a strength. Tell the story of the strength, what that means to you. And the reason that's important is, first of all, this is not a panacea. It does not fix every leadership problem or every personnel problem. You're still going to have those. But now you have some language to talk about it before you get to the point where you go, you got to go, that kind of thing. And the second thing is when you tell the story, it builds that trust. It's not just a definition. It helps them to remember that about you. So just really quickly, I'm going to tell my story. I had developer before I even knew I had it. And when I became a commanding officer the first time, I realized that my job was not to drive the ship anymore. It was to teach younger sailors how to drive the ship without killing anybody or running into anything. And it's a skill set that takes some time. Some people have it naturally, but I would get so excited when someone would qualify because they had developed into this person that I can now go to bed at night and trust that they can drive the ship. That's the idea. And that developer piece was welling up in me before I even knew what the definition was. So that's my story. I was a developer my whole life, helping people to find their way. So for the rest of us to have developer, it may look a little differently because, Jeff has activator as his number 5. Activator says, I'm going to run this race. Even if I'm not going to win it, I'm going to be the first one out of the blocks. I'm going to go first. So when they're developing someone, they might go, let's get going. Let's move it. Let's go. That kind of thing, where someone else may not do that. I hope that makes sense. But
yeah. Well, to your point, when I recognized back in 2018 that I needed to do an overhaul in my business, I set a course to develop someone to help me. And it took me a year to get that person where I needed them to be. And then they left. And so out of necessity, I had to hire someone, and I developed them in 6 months. And then the next one was 3 months. And the next one was a month. And so I started to realize, I learned more by failing than winning any day, but going through that allowed me, because I do get on fire for developing somebody into, a good, and by the way, every single one that I developed, I would say it would be a credit to the financial industry. Like, I know their heart, their integrity, they may have gone in different directions, but they were all a credit to what I would like to do, in the industry, helping other people, putting people's situations above theirs, those types of things. And it's such a thrill. And developer is that is a gift. That is a real gift, not like to other people, but for yourself to feel it when it happens. So I can recognize that.
But by the way, thrill is a performance kind of word. When you're thrilled about something, you're going to do it with earnest. And that's why this is a performance thing, not just a personality thing, so.
Yeah, good stuff.
I love it. I think so many people walk into the studio and they doubt their own abilities. And I think that's where the developer in me shows up best. I'm not strong enough, or I'm never going to get this movement. My developer strength kicks in like right away.
Yeah.
I help them notice the smallest of progress that they will overlook every time. And it could be a little bit extra weight. It could be another extra rep. It could be a better posture, deeper breathing, whatever. But over time, it's like those little small moments that they don't even recognize add up to the results, whether it's a transformation or just subtle change. That's improvement over time. And I get to be there, cheering them on every step of the way. And that's powerful for me.
It's like young kid Austin that we had
Yeah.
The first time he came in,
That's a great story.
he was warming up on the rowing machine, and he had to stop and throw up on a warm up.
Oh,
on the warm up, right?
Mhm.
Yesterday, this is 3 months ago. Yesterday, I had him do, over the course of an hour, 15 rounds of 500-meter row, 5 burpees, 5 push-ups, 5 V-ups, which are a core exercise. He did all 15 rounds in an hour, 7,500 meters.
wow.
And he goes, hey, Jeff, do you mind if I do as many pull-ups as I possibly can before I leave? And I was like, have at it. He banged out 8 in a row.
Wow.
I'm like, this is amazing. Well, I was like, I want to put this on social media.
Yeah, what growth.
So proud of that kid.
Yeah.
He just works really hard and overcame a lot of stuff. That it was incredible. Anyway, that's the kind of stuff that we get to celebrate.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's the culture of growth that we promote. I mean, just being able to see that and help someone understand I feel like that's the culture that we strive to create.
Yeah, definitely.
Recognizing people's strengths.
We may have a part 2 to this.
Yeah.
We're running low on time, but I think part 2 might not be a bad idea.
We need to talk about Jeff's number 1, and we can save that for the next show. And Jeff's number 1 strength is that he looks good in a muscle shirt, and that's a rare one. That's number 35 on the Clifton Strengths, is looking good in a muscle shirt or looking good without sleeves. There are very few that actually have that strength. Once again, Jeff's special. Always has to be the special one. Well, John, I think you've really helped us see how we just got a touch of how impactful it is to know your strengths. And it's just like, it's when you tell the people, hey, this is your strength, they're like, oh yeah, I am pretty good at that. But it's realizing it and then implementing it and not being afraid to be who you are, right? Is that the takeaway here, John?
It is. And just remember, the best athletes in the world have a coach. And having that coach, and I'm not trying to sell myself. Go get another coach. There's thousands of Clifton Strengths coach on their website. You can go choose one yourself. But it really does have an impact when someone is saying to you, did you practice that? What did it look like? What did it feel like? What impact did it have? Those kinds of things are really valuable. So I would encourage that if we're going to leave it with something. Take it, read it, and then go talk to someone else about it. Even if you just talk about it, it gets better. So, yeah.
I think we need to send Tony the report. I would love to hear what Tony's strengths are.
Sure. I looked at the different categories of all the 3 strengths, and I think almost all of them are probably going to be in influencing, if I had to guess, but maybe one in relationship build. I have none in strategic thinking or executing. Probably. Wow. So I don't know. That's just my guess. Relationship building, though, I'm looking at all those, woo sounds like something that I'm good at, That
would be a good one for you.
Yep.
For sure.
You think so?
I think the next, maybe we'll do another one of these, because I think we really want to introduce John as a, sort of a third member of our team as we go into this next chapter. We're adding some amazing, cool services that we want to talk about. And, I think John is kind of a bridge between the fitness and the finance piece for us, helping people uncover those things. And that, brings so much more purpose and process to people's lives when they allow that to take place, right? So we're very excited about what will come of all this stuff. So love to have you back again, John, in a future show.
Yeah,
that would be great.
I'm
honored that you asked me to be here. So thank you. It was great.
Well, thanks for being our guest.
Yeah. So before we go, John, if we have small businesses out there or people who want to learn more about this or utilize your services for their team, how can they get a hold of you?
Two ways. You can go to my website, calledbydesign.com. And at the bottom, there's set up a initial 30-minute meeting with me. You can choose one of those, or you can just email me at jmaloney@calledbydesign.com. So
calledbydesign.com is the website, right?
That's correct. Yes.
All right. Well, great. John, again, Jennifer and Jeff, you got a A-lister. What a great show. One of our best, I think. It really does help to know your strengths. And I was wondering, like, okay, I know that I have some strengths and weaknesses. What good does it do? What is the benefit of knowing and talking about them? But wow, it really does help, doesn't it? I mean,
yeah, I like talking about my calves.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna hopefully our listeners. I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. Hopefully our listeners are okay. You paint quite a mental image, Jeff. Jennifer, Jeff, great show today.
Thanks,
and thank you to John Maloney, our special Maloney. Sorry, John Maloney, our special guest. John Maloney is a stand-up comic. That's why I keep saying that. He's a pretty well-known. He was a writer on SNL, right? Isn't that the famous John Maloney? So John Maloney is our guest today, Called by Design, and a great show. Now, Jennifer and Jeff, give your information for our listeners who want to schedule that fitness or finance strategic planning consultation.
So go to our website. So that's F as in Frank, B as in boy, urgfitness.com. And you'll click at the top of the page on book free discovery call, and you will be put on my schedule.
Awesome. Jeff,
yeah,
we all need a financial plan in place, especially before we hit retirement. How can we do that?
Sure. You can go to theretirementsmith.com and you can connect with us on a tab up on the top right. It literally is contact, and Chris will get us on the books. But yeah, we'd love to help. And thank you again, John, for being here. It was great.
Yes, thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thanks. Yeah.
All right. And that does it for today's episode of Fitness and Finance with our special guest, John Maloney, and of course, our hosts, Jeff and Jennifer.